The intent of this video is to discuss the value of Iwo Jima dispatched P-51 Mustangs flying as B-29 escorts. The Joint Chiefs provided multiple reasons why the capture of Iwo Jima was necessary. The main reason cited was the usage of the island to provide fighter escorts for B-29 bombers. This May 1945 287-page document, Report on the Capture of Iwo Jima, indicates, with the capture of Iwo Jima, a potential base has been secured for the use by heavy bombers and their fighter escorts for a direct assault against the Empire. All of the documents shown in this presentation are declassified. The other reasons for the capture of Iwo Jima include denying the strategic outpost to the enemy, furnishing an air defense base for our positions in the Marianas, providing fields for staging heavy bombers against Japan, and precipitating a decisive naval engagement. This map illustrates the general concept of Iwo Jima fighter escort. B-29 bombers would be dispatched from the Marianas Island chain. Bomber bases were on the islands of Saipan, Tinian, and Guam. Around 3 non-bombing navigational B-29s would rendezvous with the Iwo Jima Mustangs. Navigational B-29s would take off from Iwo Jima as described in this April 30, 1945 Tactical Mission Report. The Mustangs would follow the navigational B-29 mothership to Japan. The fighters would escort the bombing B-29s while over Japan. After the threat of fighter attacks had ended, the Mustangs would rendezvous back with the orbiting navigational B-29 for the return trip back to Iwo Jima. There were many issues fighter escorts needed to contend with during these long missions. The duration of an Iwo Jima escort mission equated to 7.3 hours, as defined in this 1945 83-page document, 7th Fighter Command on Iwo Jima, a statistical summary. This image shows a P-51 Mustang with external drop tanks with Mount Suribachi in the background. This map, from a March 1945 document, Operation Downfall, a Strategic Plan, shows a combat range for fighters or bombers dispatched from either Iwo Jima or Okinawa. Fighters dispatched from Iwo Jima have a capability of coverage in this area. Fighters dispatched from Okinawa have a capability of coverage in this area. This June 1945 20th Air Force newsletter reviews the combat radius of the P-51H and the P-47N fighters fitted with various size external tanks. The report states the combat radius of action is substantially the same. The report goes on. The P-47N has proven itself to be superior in tactical operations by virtue of its rugged construction and its ability to take considerable ground fire and still get home. On the other hand, the P-51 is the favorite of all pilots engaged, for the most part, in air-to-air fighting. VHF homing adapters were to be retrofitted in fighters flying from Iwo Jima to assist in long-range navigation, as discussed in this February 1945 20th Air Force newsletter. Bomber Command was also considering swapping the P-51's pilot seat with a hammock-style suspension seat to increase the comfort level during these long missions, as discussed in the same source newsletter. A new Grumman-designed autopilot system was also to be adopted on the P-51D models to reduce pilot fatigue during long missions, as discussed in this March 1945 20th Air Force newsletter. The first bomber escort mission occurred on April 7, 1945, as discussed in this April 26, 21st Bomber Command Air Intelligence Report. The 7th Fighter Command dispatched 80 P-51 Mustangs from Iwo Jima to escort 107 B-29s. The B-29s would be bombing the Nakajima Aircraft Works in Tokyo. 3 navigational B-29s were used to escort the P-51s to the target area. The Mustangs flew 3 to 4 minutes ahead of the bombers. The P-51s engaged the Japanese fighters only when the enemy aircraft were attacking the bombers. The Japanese fighters made 450 attacks on the bombers. A Japanese interceptor collided with a B-29's vertical stabilizer, but the bomber landed safely at Iwo Jima. The bomber gunners claimed 40 enemy aircraft destroyed, while the P-51s claimed 21 enemy aircraft destroyed. 2 P-51s were lost in combat. The enemy aircraft avoided the escorts and focused on the bombers. The enemy was surprised to see bomber escorts. Various types of Japanese bomber interceptors were sighted. Additional details of the losses are included in this 21st Bomber Command Tactical Mission Report. 3 B-29s were destroyed by enemy aircraft. One of the B-29s was struck by an air-to-air phosphorus air bomb. This map shows the state of Japanese occupied territories as of April 18, 1945. Fighters only flew escort during daylight bombing missions. The bombers started shifting from daylight bombing to nighttime bombing in March 1945, as shown in this 33-page August 1945 21st Bomber Command Summary of Operations document. The columns represent the number of bombers airborne per month during daylight missions and nighttime missions. The data was replotted for ease of comprehension. The x-axis is a month and year. The y-axis is a number of bombers dispatched. The area plots represent the number of B-29s bombing during day missions and night missions. Escorts were provided during 14 daylight missions. The fighters turned back on 2 of the 14 missions due to weather issues. Fighters were only effective on 12 missions. The P-51's escorted missions are represented in this area sliver. No escorts were provided during the month of July 1945. So how effective were the Iwo Jima fighter escorts? Fighter escorts reduced the bomber loss rates by 20 to 30%, as discussed in this June 20, 1945 20th Air Force Operations Highlights document. Bomber Command compared the loss rates for 5 escorted and 5 unescorted missions. The total loss rate for the escorted missions was 1.1% and 1.4% for the unescorted missions. The loss rates take into account losses during combat missions except for operational losses. Operational losses can be due to engine maintenance issues, fuel exhaustion, collisions, takeoff crashes, and such. This chart represents the disposition and parameters of the 14 B-29 escorted missions. The first column is a 21st Bomber Command mission number. The second column is a target location. Note that most of Japanese industrial targets are within range of the Iwo Jima fighters, as shown in this chart. The third column is the date of the mission. The fourth column is the number of B-29s dispatched. The fifth column is the number of B-29s destroyed by enemy aircraft. The sixth column is the number of B-29s destroyed by ground flak. The seventh column is the number of B-29s destroyed by enemy aircraft and flak. The eighth column is the number of B-29s destroyed by unknown causes. The ninth column is the number of B-29s destroyed by operational causes. The 10th column are enemy aircraft claimed destroyed by bomber gunners. The data within the chart was extracted from the Tactical Mission Report documents. Couple observations. Only 5 bombers of the 4,181 dispatched were destroyed by fighters. 4 of the bombers were shot down, and 1 was destroyed by an air-to-air phosphorus bomb. This image shows a detonating air-to-air phosphorus bomb near a B-24. Bomber gunners claimed 143 enemy aircraft. Gunner claims will need to be reviewed before they are considered confirmed through gun camera footage and eyewitness accounts. To estimate the reduction in bomber losses due to fighter escorts, we need to follow the methodology as shown in the June 20, 1945 20th Air Force Operations Highlight document by first summing the number of bomber losses by enemy aircraft, flak, enemy aircraft and flak, and unknown. The sum of the non-operational escorted bombers destroyed equates to 24. Since fighter escorts reduce the bomber losses up to 30%, this implies, had the 12 missions been conducted without escorts, an additional 10 bombers would have been lost. There are 11 crew members per bomber. 72% of bomber crew members will either be killed, missing, or taken as POW for each bomber destroyed. The math equates to 79 B-29 crew members were saved as a result of the Iwo Jima-based fighter escort. To be comprehensive, though, we need to address the price the Iwo Jima-based P-51 Mustangs paid in their escort role. This chart represents a detailed review of each of the missions the Iwo Jima fighters flew, as extracted in the September 1945 7th Fighter Command on Iwo Jima report. The 11 bomber escort missions for the month of April, May, and June 1945 are highlighted. No escort missions in July. The 3 bomber escort missions for the month of August 1945 are highlighted. The pertinent escort mission data was extracted, tabulated, and rolled up in this chart. Observations of the column roll-ups include P-51s claimed 99 enemy aircraft destroyed during air-to-air engagements. 63 P-51s were destroyed during escort missions. 38 pilots were classified as lost in conducting escort missions. In summary, the Iwo Jima fighters were effective in only 12 of the 14 missions assigned. The fighter escorts benefited the B-29 bombers by saving around 10 bombers and 79 bomber crew members. The cost to the 7th Fighter Command during the 14 escort missions was 63 Mustangs and 38 pilots lost. Note that 21st Bomber Command was receiving around 8 B-29s per day in June of 1944. 10 bombers lost equates to 1.25 days worth of deliveries. There is an overall benefit to the Iwo Jima fighter escort, but negligible in the overall scope of the B-29 bomber deployments. See the video description for a link to my Google Drive where you can download the charts in the presentation shown. Let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with the video's conclusion. Also consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel World War II U.S. Bombers.